And we're back here with This Week in Roane County with myself, Julia Hurley, and our guest, David Coffey. David, thank you again.
Thank you.
If you're just now tuning in, we've been talking about the SCORE initiative and how that affects the state of Tennessee and Roane County. So now we're going to move into the race to the top. Can you give us a little information on that?
Sure. The race to the top, which you read about so much, Julia, in the paper, and the news frequently comes out, was in Tennessee, it was called First to the Top. The legislation that came to the legislature in a special session in January was the First to the Top, which our intent was to take the data that we have and the willingness we have to really make some change in education and be the first to the top in the race to the top. Now, as it went into the federal government, of course, that is the race to the top competition. Tennessee, some people thought we wouldn't do too well in that. They didn't think we had enough going on here. I heard that comment and had some emails along that line, but that didn't turn out to be true. Actually, Tennessee is very much of an innovator in education and is ready to move and has shown the willingness. So we did well. 40 states competed for the race to the top money. We are one of the 16 winners, preliminary winners in that. And almost certainly that says we are a winner at this point, because those 16 will in all likelihood all be funded to some level. But this month the governor and some others will go back to D.C. and to make the case a little more explicitly this time as finalists to be one of the select 5 or 10 that will go in, probably 6 to 10 they're saying, that will be selected in the first run. And then they'll come back a little bit later in the summer and have another part of it. But I really believe that we're going to be one of the final finalists. We're not going to be just a finalist. We're going to be in that first batch. The reason is we have the data in place. We have the willingness in place. We have the commitment. Every school superintendent in Tennessee has signed on that they will commit to what's in that race to the top. And what's in that race to the top is earth-shaking. It is nothing less than that. They may have some earthquakes out in California or wherever, but they can't match what's going on in Tennessee right now in education. Because, for example, every high school principal will be reviewed annually on his students' academic progress. He has a job review once every year now. That was never been there before. Any teacher who is not, who has low academic scores for their children will also be subject to review. No longer will the tenure protect you in the way that it has before. So we're really calling for a better result from the children. We number one, of course, want the schools to protect the kids and make sure they're safe. That is always number one. The schools are, except for occasional nuts, whether it's a teacher or a student or whatever, a parent, but there are occasional ones that we read about in the press and see on the TV. But the main thing is we need the kids safe, and they are basically that. Number two, we expect academic result. That is what the schools are there for, and we do expect that. That's what the race to the top is all about, is what do we have to do to get the results that we need to get to have our students competitive. Because when they come out of those schooling years, they're going out in the real world, and they're either going to be able to function or not. And it gets a little embarrassing at that point to go fill out that job application if you can't quite handle the job. We need to do our job to get them ready for that point in life, and we can do it. We know how to do it. We know the elements. Race to the Top has some beautiful stuff in it. Incidentally, it's with the appendices, it's over 1,100 pages long. So you don't want to sit down and read that. That's just put you to sleep. On the other hand, there's a 22-page summary on the Education Consumers website that is a very good summary of what this thing is really doing, relating to specific pages about what is committed. And what is done there, what is summarized, is some key components of the race to the top. And let me tell you, one of them is whether we win or do not win the money at the federal level, the commitment from the state and from our school superintendents, the commitment from the State Board of Education, all the way across the board, is that we're going to do this program anyway, with or without the money. And we know money is tight right now, and we'd love to have that federal money, but with or without it, we're going to do it. We're going to do what we need to do for the kids. And so I'm just amazed. I'm ready to salute the legislature and the governor every day for what they've pulled off. This is a big accomplishment, and it's one that's going to move us forward quite a bit.
Well, very excited for you. We're excited for the state of Tennessee here on the show. I know that education is a big factor in Roane County, so let's right now delve into why it's very important for Roane County to be a portion of this race to the top and score, and to receive their portion of the funding and how that needs to be spent.
Well, first of all, on the funding, we'll kind of skip over that, and that is mentioned in the Tennessee Score. If you go to their website, and you will see some summary of what the financial situation is. We always have big financial requirements in the schools, and there's no end to the need that we can come up with for that. But this does not talk about bricks and mortar. This doesn't talk about building schools. This talks about how much instruction time and what kind of instruction time is going on for the kids. We can reallocate. School systems have done it. We know how to do it. We can reallocate times, and we have to come with programs that allocate more time to those kids who are behind in their grades. Especially when you get into pre-K through third grade, that's when the children are able to pick up and get back on the bus and can actually learn how to do the job. They've got to learn math and reading and writing. This is the years where you can do it most cheaply, most effectively, and where you can get the kids at a reasonable level. Otherwise, when they go in the classroom and when they go into a 6th grade class or a 7th grade class and they're not prepared, you may as well be teaching them a foreign language. At that point, it can be just so confusing to them, and of course, they begin to lean back. You lose them mentally, and eventually when they get old enough, you lose them physically. They drop out. So if you go through the whole school system and you start with the high school and say, why are they dropping out? Well, they're not ready for high school. Middle school, why are they dropping out? They're not ready for middle school. Elementary, well, they're not ready when they come from their homes. Yes, that's true. Now what can we do? Well, there are ways to catch them up. And the ways are basically in additional instruction time for those who are behind. You have to keep the others moving, but the ones that are behind, you have to give them additional instruction time. Otherwise, you've shortchanged them and they never get back on track. Almost all of them, that will be the case. The research that's been done shows that more than 2/3, if they're off track down at the early grades, they never get back on.
Do we know how far down Roane County is?
Well, there are some interesting numbers. First of all, our demographics are better than the state average. That's the good part. We have fewer kids on the free and reduced lunch than the state average. We still have a significant number, so that's not a big factor there. But we have some other things that are real advantages for us too. First, we do have fewer on the free and reduced lunch. The demographic is working in our favor. On the other hand, our progress in the schools is not what it ought to be.
Let me stop you right there. We'll come back on the third segment here on This Week in Roane County with Julia Hurley, our guest David Coffey. We'll be back in just a moment.